So the title of my paper is Philosophical Counseling and the Relevance of Wisdom and Morality in Mental Health. So this paper will be aiming at describing the role of wisdom and morality in resolving a person's mental health. And in brief, we will be also discussing that philosophical counseling can be done by developing wisdom, by making a person wise and developing also moral values in a counselor. There will be a discussion on how wisdom and morality can improve a person's mental health. So we will be discussing like right now philosophy. We will be discussing different methods of philosophical counseling, like critical thinking, Socratic view, worldview. In critical thinking, a counselor helps to develop a counselor helps to develop a counselee with thinking ability. He works on the uh, critical thinking area of the counselee's mind, where he can analyze his true nature, and after analyzing his true nature, he can resolve his behavioral, emotional, and psychological problems, and also analyze whatever is troubling them. And in Socratic view, a philosophical counselor does a philosophical counseling by having a question-answer approach, or we can say by having a dialogue. It's just a normal question answer approach which a counselor have with a counselee. And in worldview, a philosophical counselor focuses on a very crucial area of counselor's mind. Like in it's about what a counselor thinks, what a counselor thinks in the world they are living in, and how does it affect their life. So by building an optimistic outlook of the world they are living in, by teaching them like a different method, by teaching them by different concepts of liberty, freedom, life ethics, meanings of life, they try to make optimistic worldview of the counselee, so that they can cope up better with their problems. And now we're going to discuss the relevance of wisdom in philosophical counseling. So first of all, there are three concepts: virtue, wisdom, and morality. These three concepts are interconnected. First of all, in order to become a wise person, we need to pursue certain virtues. For example, modesty, kindness, honesty, loyalty, etc. And once you follow these virtues, it will make you a wise person. And once you become a wise person, the morality will appear automatically. And also, once you attain wisdom, happiness will also follow you. So in that sense, now we'll try to understand what is the importance of wisdom in philosophical counseling, and how it's a very significant method that can a philosopher adopt while doing a philosophical counseling. So wisdom here, what do we mean by wisdom here is being involved in the task, irrespective of whatever outcome may be. So in this sense, I can take the example of Sisyphean task, where the Sisyphus was trying to roll the stone up to the mountain, but it was falling down again and again. Irrespective of just winning or losing that particular task, he was totally involved in the task. He was committing to the task, and that's what made him a wiser person. So that's how you can become a wise person. That's how you can adopt wisdom in your life, like irrespective of whatever outcome is going to be, you are involving yourself in the task. So that's what a philosophical counselor tries to teach a counselee, and by that they can cope up with their life issues. Now we're going to talk about what is the relevance of morality or change moral values in philosophical counseling. We're going to have a case study of a monk on the very common mental health illness, which is called depression. Depression could occur due to lack of moral values. For example, in this case study, there is a 37-year-old monk who spent 20 years in a monastery. He became depressed, and his symptoms were like feeling hopeless, having suicidal thoughts, and insomnia, and feeling helpless, and so on. So he tried to reach for psychotherapies, he tried to reach for like counseling from psychologists, and they prescribed him few medications, but it just worked for a few days just for a physical relief, but it was not a permanent solution for him. So after analyzing, it was found that the monk had spent 2 decades of his life helping strangers in a monastery, which excludes its sexual desires, intimacy, and even like a natural tendency of forming his own biological family. And such analysis in the moral values can tell us that he was having problem with uh, the fact is that he was less morally acceptable with his changed moral values. His moral values are changed. He is no more feeling like a monk. He wants to go out from the monastery, and he wants to pursue his current desires right now. So that's what I'm talking about. So such kind of depression requires philosophical counseling instead of the psychotherapy or psychological counseling, because it will build the moral values moral values in his life again, because psychotherapy didn't work very well for the monk. So after 6 months of philosophical counseling, he had gone through the writings of different philosophers, and finally he also resolved his mental health issues after finding, or after being more acceptable towards his changed moral values, that he doesn't have to stay in the monastery. He has a life himself, being as a human being. He can have desires. So his moral values are changed now. His choices are changed now. The rational choices over what is right for him right now and what used to be right for him back then has been changed. So in that concern, he left the monastery, keeping religious beliefs himself. So by this case study, we can understand how changed moral values has helped the monk to uh, to pursue whatever his desires were up to. So that's what we understood by relevance of morality in philosophical counseling. Now, psychotherapy or philosophical counseling. So it's very hard to choose which one is more effective and which one is not. Basically, both are equally effective. If you look from the different picture, both have their own criteria, both have their own management. And if someone wants to get psychotherapy, they can go to psychologist and they can take medications if they're having symptoms like insomnia, and just like so many symptoms are there. And if someone wants to just have a permanent solution to their life, if someone wants to look at if someone wants to look at the deeper problems in their life, then they can go for philosophical counseling. So psychotherapy deals with the client's mental health by diagnosing and providing medication if needed. Philosophical counseling deals with counselee's mental health by by making them more aware with what are the values, virtues, and wisdom, morality, and so on. These kinds of concepts. Once they are acquainted with such kind of concepts, they will see the world from a different vision, and that's why philosophical counseling, in my view, it's super effective. So therefore, psychotherapy does a surface study and philosophical counseling does a deep study at the root. And I'm concluding this paper in the context of mental health. Philosophical counseling makes a counselee realize the reason behind their meaningless life. And it also philosophically provokes the counselee to have a self-inquiry to resolve their problems. And also wisdom and morality, wisdom and morality appeared as effective ways of doing philosophical counseling, and they can stimulate counselee to live a good and a meaningful life. Thank you.